What's up, everybody? Happy Sunday. Today is Sunday, December 17th. Welcome back to another edition of the Gold Rush Weekly Watch List. Interesting week last week with CPI, PPI, jobs numbers, etc. Very positive. I think that there's a lot potential for the market to continue an upside moving to the end of the year, only because of the news that came out with Jay Powell keeping rates where they are at consistently, and also the news, more importantly, the news of rates being cut a bunch of times into next year. So good news for the market, good news for buyers, good news for investors, good news for not so good news for banks, right? But they will get a little bit more volume when it comes to their output of their products, etc. So it's overall really, really good. It seems like Jerome Powell actually pulled off that soft landing. So yeah, very, very exciting. Hopefully we get some follow through for the rest of the year. Otherwise, you might, I wouldn't be surprised though if you see volume kind of slow down into this end of the year. People usually don't trade as much during this time. People get an early jump on the holidays, especially this week and next week. So if you see a decrease in volume, I wouldn't be totally surprised. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. I don't think there's much on the economic calendar. If there's any updates, I'll go ahead and post it in the group on the trade floor. Otherwise, I'm just going to go ahead and get right into the analysis. So on your screen right now, we have SPX. Let me go ahead. Yeah, this is good. Okay, we got SPX 1-day chart, and so at the beginning of the week on this candlestick, we broke above. So we had 4 back-to-back or 3 days back-to-back of making higher highs on the daily candlesticks. And on Monday, we broke above this pivot where a bunch of sellers stepped in and deactivated this upswing on July the 27th, right? So we had a nice upswing here, and then we started making downtrends on July 27th. That was the highest day. And we started making downtrends here and working our way down. And we finally made our way back above that level on Monday, the 11th. Ripped through that level, made new high the next day, made strong move the next day based on CPI, PPI, and then kind of an indecision candle and an inside bar for Thursday and Friday. So very, very interesting price action to end the week with that Thursday and Friday candlestick. But I see the potential for a continuation. Otherwise, if we do fail, I think we might have to work our way into fully digesting the move of this candlestick. I'm not sure if we've actually gotten a chance to, like, all the volume on this candle was way down here where this green line is, down here at 46.50, and so it might be a good opportunity for price to come back down to retest some of this volume here, make sure that we still want to go up, right? So that's the only thing. Either we break above this level here and work our way into 47.60 and 4800 over the next couple of weeks. I would say 2 weeks. Otherwise, if we do break down, I would want to see us retest this, pretty much bounce at the low of day. Just make sure that we want to be up here in price. This is a brand new range for us. We haven't been up in this area for, let's see, the last time we were here was at the beginning of 2022. January 2022 was the last time we were trading at this level. So it would be good for it to kind of double back a little bit, make sure we have some good support in this area here in this box, and then from there work our way back up. The ultimate target for this move here is, for this move, the last time I drew this pivot was from here to the high here on the weekly, and the ultimate target for that is 49.23. And again, that might take. This looks like it might be a fib wave. So we might get a little bit of some strength up here, a little deep pullback into this previous level at some point, right? Up a little bit, come back down to this green level or so, and then work our way back finally to the 1618 move. And that's maybe March, April, May, June, right? Deep in the year. But that's what I'm targeting for that move there. Let's go ahead and look at some of these other indices, and then we'll go ahead and jump into the list I have, the short list I have. So QQQ is currently trading right above a big area where there was lots of volume, giving us a hard time. Let me change this over to the weekly, actually. You see a bunch of price congregating around this area. and QQQ is just sitting right above that area, right? We had mapped out these targets at 394.14, 399.99, or 400 rather, and 405, right? The last time that we were on this call, and it achieved each one of those numbers this last week, and it pretty much stopped at that final number. So now, we want to find support anywhere on these couple of lines. Ideally it would be this top line, but if we get that pullback with SPX, I would imagine it would get pulled back to like that 399 or 395. But ultimately, we want to get above all-time high here. And an interesting thing about this is when price gets back up to that level, I expect a little bit of a sell-off. Right, I expect price to reject hard. I expect for there to be a bunch of sellers sitting right up on the top of that wick right there. So it really depends on how strongly they want to sell. But yeah, so I want to see what it does between 400 and 410 for this week. Right, that's the range that I would set, 400 and 410. It could pull back into 400. Hopefully, we find some support, and then from there, it could work its way into the higher levels. Obviously, if it takes out that all-time high right there. So very, very interesting chart with QQQ. Next one, let's do energy real quick. XLE looks really interesting. It is currently forming a wedge right now, right? Got that. And then it's really, this is really a flat top more than anything else. And I like how price is holding, and this is a weekly again. I like how price is holding that weekly trend line. And fighting with the 200-day moving average. Let's look at the daily real quick. Yeah, I mean, strong move on Thursday, inside bar on Friday. Let me just zoom into that. That Friday inside bar is can make things really interesting, especially right under that 200-day moving average. So, above the break of Friday's high, we can retest Thursday's high. Then we got the 50-day moving average sitting there as a potential target. And then below, I would say, below the 20, but really below the low of day into the previous low of day. Then we got this gap filled to the downside. So there's your range for XLE. XLE looks like it's moving back in conjunction with SPX this week, especially with the strong move up on Thursday. Well, it's weird because we got the strong move up on Wednesday on SPX, and then XLE got the follow through on Thursday. And then even a nice green candle on a kind of a shaky Friday. So, so if there's any strength, or actually rather any weakness anywhere else, and like especially in tech, right? A nice red day in tech would give us a nice green day in XLE. So that's interesting to look at right there. Let's look at XLF real quick. Financials have been on an absolute tear ever since they formed that inverse head and shoulders. We're currently trading above this pivot here. As long as this pivot holds as a support, then I see a continuation for this. This can get up into 38 and 39 pretty easily, right? But it ripped through all of our targets that we had posted last week, right? So strong move. I'm looking for a continuation. Obviously, JPM and GS are the ones you want to look for if XLF shows strength in the market. Let's look at real quick at industrials. XLI is, let me see where we at. I haven't looked at this yet. Yeah, we're at all-time high right now for XLI. So, and this is your daily chart. So you had a nice gap up on Thursday, and then an inside bar on Friday. So, again, this is just setting you up for some really good price action, one way or the other. We couldn't break the range of Thursday's candlestick, but we do have this nice little gap to fill to the downside, and then we have a magnetic number 115 to the upside if we do get a continuation move. Right, and that's over the course of 3 or 4 days. But 115 will be the target for XLI for this week if it does continue to move to the upside. Look at XLU real quick. Utilities. So we ripped through the 200-day moving average, and we found some resistance here at 60. The top of the day here was there was no resistance really. We had a strong move. No sellers stepped in on this candlestick. Next day we gapped up and brought it right back down. So realistically with this, we got to get above that 200-day moving average. We need to trade above that 200-day for this to be meaningful. Otherwise, it looks like we are potentially going to break this downtrend if we can't hold that 200. Now, if you just look at how many days this has been trading along this line, the likelihood is it's going to continue to try to bounce and break through the 200. But if for whatever reason sellers step in and force, break below this trend line, break below this level here at 63.37, and most importantly, break below that 20, we have a nice strong move into the 50-day moving average incoming on XLU. So I would keep an eye on that if you're interested in something like that. This looks like it moves methodically, so you can probably get a multi-day or multi-week swing out of this, depending on which direction it wants to go, especially off that 200-day moving average. So let's go ahead and get into the names. I have a list of 15. The first one is Datadog. I'm looking at all of these on the weekly, by the way. This just gives it the best context, makes the most sense. So we had a nice strong pullback from all-time highs back in 2022. Pullback formed a nice base bounce, higher low here, right? Here's your low, here's your higher low. And now strong candle with earnings and strong continuation move by way of earnings drift, right? So let me go ahead and get rid of some of these levels because it went through all my levels already. So let's see. As long as we hold above this level here, 120.75, we got a nice little pivot play ripping through some of these previous highs, right? Potentially. I wouldn't go short on this just because the 20-day sitting right there. It looks like it reacts a lot to the 20-day on the weekly, so I wouldn't go short on this unless it's underneath the 20-day already. Otherwise, I think it's set up beautifully on the weekly, and especially on the daily. You got the 20-day bounce. We could actually bring this level up to that 20-day. And and then looking at it on the context of a daily chart, as long as price maintains this level, even if we get that pullback into this level, and you see buyers kind of step into the top of this box, this thing is going to continue. I'm looking at 130 for the rest of this week, and then maybe potentially 135 into the next week, depending on how much strength there is. But Datadog looks great. This entire sector actually looks really good. I have a few names on this sector and like some kind of proxy sideways names that are related to the sector. So in the news, we got insider sold shares. 3 weeks or 3 news headlines back to back. Now, if you were an insider and you were in their shoes and you see this thing is ripping to a new high, right? And let's say you bought it down here or even over here at $89 and you're at 122 now, you would take profit too, right? That's the whole name of the game. Why wouldn't you take profit, right? It might have even been somebody who was, especially insiders, they might have gotten in back here, right? Or even like somewhere over here. So they're just taking profit, nothing really concerning. I wonder how much of the market cap this is. I would say the market cap is much higher than, what is this, 6 million? I would say the market cap is much higher than 6 million. So it doesn't seem like it's a large percentage of their market cap. And so it's really meaningless, right? Even with them selling it 4 days ago on these 2 green days, right? It's 4 days ago. So I see strength there. So I see a continuation there on Datadog. Next one is Shopify on the weekly looks beautiful. Beautiful. Where is my letter P? There you go. So what I love about this weekly chart is the fact that we kind of formed this sideways price action here, consolidation, made a new high, and then kind of ripped down, tried the high again, failed, ripped down, tried the high again, and paused on it right before it formed the 3-bar play, right? Strong move, resting bar, continuation move. And now we pull back a little bit last week, but buyers are still in control, and buyers want to take it higher, right? You see price kind of ripped above the previous pivot, that pivot right there, and then pull back to kind of retest it as support. And now buyers are bringing it right back up. So I like it. I like it a lot. I think that we can revisit some of these older levels. Let's see. We rejected right at $78. Is that so? Let me just see what the accuracy that. Yeah, $77.95. So just at about the previous pivot, which is not surprising. The next level I think that we would retest is this level 84.64. And then above that, we got 89.13. So I'm looking at those 3 levels for this week. I think the 20-day would hold up as support for us, right? If you do want to play downside, you can go ahead and just take the lows of day, maybe into this gap, and then into the 20. I wouldn't go much further than that, though. Right? I wouldn't go much further than that. I think that 20-day is going to be a nice support for Shopify for the next couple of weeks. So just keep that in mind. The next one that I have on my list is Zscaler. Again, this is one of those, related to that web services industry, right? So look at the weekly on Zscaler. This thing is just absolute monster right now. What I love about this name is, so this is like one of the first names that I've ever traded options on, and it was like a couple back-to-back weeks where it was just like, oh, new all-time high, new all-time high, new all-time high, and it was just making all new highs. And then I let go of it back in 2021 because it was just too much. But I think this is a name that we might have to consider keeping on our chart for a couple of these for the next couple quarters or whatever the case is. I mean, look at how it just went sideways a bunch, up, down, and then nice flat base here, and then strong rip. So I like that rip out of that consolidation. And this is like a 6-month long consolidation right here, right? 6-month or 5-month long consolidation before that rip. So I think that rip has some legs to it. Let me get rid of these lines here. I think that rip has some legs to it. So let's see if it can continue. We'll just go ahead and retarget some of these previous levels here. There's a lot of sellers sitting in this area here. I see that every time it gets to this level, right? Like it came and kind of paused at this level, ripped down. Next week came back, ripped down, multi-week rip down, right? And then it kind of worked its way back up. Next time it reaches level, made a new low, right? So I think that we're going to get a bunch of sellers sitting in this level, but I think that in the meantime, this might be magnetically attracted to that 253 level. So I would go ahead and just go ahead and put it on your chart. You don't have to play it, but maybe just add the line 253.74 is what I have, and see how fast Zscaler gets to that level, and then see how fast it rejects. Sorry, I just had to take a sip of water. So, and then looking on the daily, we had a nice little gap up on earnings. Nice little gap up, nothing crazy. About a 10-point gap up or a 5-point gap up, actually. Hold on. Let me get my numbers right. The high of 194.11 and an open of 207. Open of 197. So about $3 move to the upside overnight, and then price moved up, bunch of sell pressure. Pretty much all of the majority of the day was sell pressure, and the candle remained to be green. Next day we opened up here, retested that previous day's sell pressure volume node right there, that green line, and then pushed down, found support where there was previous support on the previous day. We came back down and filled the gap, but formed all green days on that gap fill. And then again, we retested some of this level here. This red candle was within the range of this red candle. Sellers were not strong enough to bring it lower, and then buyers came and brought it up, right? So I see there was a nice little fight between buyers and sellers here after the positive earnings. It beat on both ends, on revenue and earnings per share. And and I think that, with the advent of AI and all that stuff and a lot of tech expanding, I think that there's a potential for industries such as this to continue strength, right? They're building their client base, et cetera, et cetera. And a lot of this stuff isn't really hardware based, so they have really good margins. So I see a continuation into 231, 243, 253 in the next couple of weeks. If you do want to play this short, it does look like a very nice short setup, only because there's a potential pivot machine gun here to the downside if we get that strong red candlestick that rips it all the way down. We need some bad news, right, in order for that to happen. Otherwise, I would just take it at, break of day high if you want to be secure. Otherwise, above 222.21, where all that volume is, that could be your entry right there. Take it above the day high into 231.36. Zscaler, you can play in increments of $5 for the most part. And this, from what I've seen in the past, is relatively safe to swing. You just don't want to get caught in chop, right? So if we take out if we don't test anywhere by low of day, if we come back to test low of day, I wouldn't touch it. But if we immediately rip open and come back and kind of retest this high as support and then continue, then I think you can swing it into the next day. It's really good at being able to swing this ticker. So I like it a lot. The next one is where's my list? The next one is Google. Google formed an inside week after some indecision. Remove drawings. After some indecision, what I mean is, going up, sideways, up, back down, up, back down, up, back down. Lots of resistance sitting in this level up here. You see all this sell pressure. All you see is wicks, right? And now we're forming a wick as a weekly. We're forming a wick off the 200-day and right into the 50-day. Within the price of the previous week. So let me go ahead and actually set my high and low of week before I go to the daily. So obviously break above 1 week, go into the next week's range, right? That's what we're looking for. So here's last week's price. It worked its way around the 100-day moving average, but really more than anything, it interacted with the 50-day. It tried on Wednesday, even on Wednesday where we had that strength in the market, nothing. Thursday kind of rejected, made a new low, buyer stepped in, brought it back up. Friday, opened up, formed a green candlestick, and formed an inside day. So we have an inside day with an inside week. So what does that tell you? That tells you that price is contracting, price is getting really tight, buyers and sellers are fighting. inside day with the inside week, usually you form something that looks like a wedge, right? So what that tells you is break above the day, right? This level here at 133.72. Actually, hold on. I don't think that's. Oh yeah, it is 133.72. And then we can probably target that 138.56 relatively quickly, right, within a day or two. And likewise, break below. Now, there's a big enough move between the low of this candlestick and the low of this candlestick where that can be its own play, right? You can just take the break of that 131.18, trade it down to 129 or 130 puts, 129 puts, right? 130 puts are probably much safer and probably give you profit much faster. But you don't got to wait for the break of the high to go all the way up here. You can just take the break of Friday's low into Thursday's low, and then from there you can take it into the following, the week, the weekly low or the 2 weeks low, whatever. At that point, it'll be 2 weeks ago's low. So I like it. I mean, it has good risk reward in both directions. I think you get a faster play to the downside. I think between that 50 and that, actually, there's all three of them: the 100, the 50, and the 20, all sitting right here. Might be tough to break. Now, if it does break, you better believe that it's probably going to hold it on the back test. So, maybe watch the break, let it come back to some of these levels, and then from there, target that maybe 140 calls for the end of the week or next week. For Google is very, very strong. And then another thing I like about Google is it's just been, for the most part, just going, ever since it went on that kind of rip earlier in the year, it's just been kind of going sideways, trading within this massive range, right? Ever since it kind of started doing this move, and then just going sideways. So I think that after all that consolidation, there might be a good, and it's easier to see when you go like this, right? There might be a good, strong move to the upside or downside coming soon. Let's see how soon. The next one that I have is X. So we had this marked up for last week. It formed a kind of a inside bar last week. Not really an inside bar because it broke above the previous range, but it is a resting bar. It didn't do much to the upside or downside. It kind of just chilled there. Now, we had this first igniting bar which ripped through all previous resistance here. And then we had the resting bar, which is potential for a 3-bar play, which is exactly what happened, right? So it's nice to see a 3-bar play work out, especially on a weekly. Now, with this strength, I think there's a continuation move. We're currently holding price right above where the previous high was. Price is currently sitting right above that level, so that's a show of strength. Hopefully, it continues to hold that level. Let's see what's going on in the news with them. Yeah, I mean, it's just reports, right? It's just all reports. Lagging indicator, of sorts. But I think I like where it's at right now. See, yeah, we need to really hold this level where we're at now, because you see the past few times that we've been at this level, it's rejected, right? Got some indecision here, kind of ripped up, pulled back hard. Next couple of weeks, it ripped up, some indecision, and pulled back and fell into a downtrend. So all this level here is crucial, but I think that with all of this sideways action here, strong move up, strong move down, sideways action here, strong move up. Let's see if we can just break a little bit past this. Maybe we target 42 for the week. I wouldn't be in a rush to jump into this at the beginning of the week. I'd rather actually let it continue to rip, and then from there work my way into like the 46s and the 48s. So don't be in a rush, but go ahead, and if you like X, and X is one of those that always pays whenever we play it. So if you like it and you want to play, go ahead and set the alert. I'm gonna go ahead and set my alert. I'm gonna go ahead and set my alert. I'm just gonna go ahead and set it at right underneath 40. Right. Give me that strong move, rip through 40, target 42. From there, target 44, 46. And then you can get 48 calls, and just know that the 47.64 is where we previously pivoted to the downside. I don't think that's all-time high. Yeah, it's not, but it's a big high, right? Because look how many weeks we were in sideways. How many weeks we went sideways along this level before we ripped down. So keep that in mind. Let's look at the daily real quick. And then the daily is just absolutely gorgeous, right? I mean, this is like some really clean price action here, because we got the strong candlestick here, I almost think this was a glitch candle, right? But it wasn't. But it just kind of looks funny. Then it went sideways a bunch, held support, held the 20, bounced, ripped above this pivot high, came back to it, retested it as support, and then traded alongside of it 4 days in a row before it made this strong move. So I just see the continuation here. As long as it can hold this current level between 39.33 and 39.25, I would say let it hold $39. And then from there, I think it can continue to work its way up to 42 and 44, 46, etc. For X. So X is going to be one definitely to watch, but don't be in a rush to jump into it unless you're buying a bunch of time and then you can do whatever. Walmart. The reason why I like Walmart, to be frank, is it's forming a weekly broadening formation. This is the first week that is, or the second week that is traded underneath the 200-day moving average in a little bit of time. So I want to see if it's in a rush to get above that 200-day moving average. If it is, break above 200 here at 155-ish, let's call it. We could target this 158.92, which is going to be where the 50-day meets us probably tomorrow or the next couple of days. And then above that, I would go ahead and set a level right here, just looking across, there's a bunch of volume sitting at that level. And then again, I would just set a level right there where we opened but failed. And then I would set a level there, where it's obviously the high of that week. And then during the next couple of weeks, maybe we can hit that 175. So, but really we need to get above that 200-day moving average in order for this to really mean anything. Now, if we do break below the low of the week for whatever reason, then I will go ahead and just revisit some of these previous levels here at $145. But I do see this broadening. It does play out more than often, so let's just keep an eye on it. If you do see downside, then it might be a very, very strong play. So just keep that in mind with Walmart. Let's look at the daily real quick. And then Walmart has it has good risk reward in both directions, but I do like the upside a little bit better than the downside. It looks like kind of a mini flag here. I really need to see what it does at the 200-day mark, or 200-day moving average. So I'm gonna go ahead and just add an alert to it. And then maybe if we get a low of day here, then there's a potential for this to really break down and kind of retest that low on the broadening before it goes back up. I'm gonna set an alert there. Again, I like it better to the upside. Even though it's an ugly play to the upside, it doesn't follow the convention of what we like, which is higher highs and higher lows and all that stuff and strong magnitude and all that. It doesn't have any of that, but sometimes you look at candles and you get a vibe, and based on the broadening and all the things, I think that there's a potential for this to continue to the upside. Now, we did get good positive earnings beats on both sides. We got the dividend payout factored in. The pay date is on January 24 or January 2nd rather. And then they are dividend stocks, so you got some pump here. Discount retailer scenes top picks despite resilient consumers. Yeah, so not much in the news right now, but anyway, I like it technically, so we'll see what happens. I'm not married to it, so it is what it is. Baba on a daily, we got an outside bar. Sorry, on a weekly, we got an outside bar. Now, Baba, I usually don't like to play this name too much because it just trades strangely. Like, it doesn't trade the way that you expect it to. So sometimes it's just I just find it confusing a little bit. And then sometimes I can get a good read out of it. So we'll see which one it is this time around, right? But we got a potential inverse head and shoulders here. Right, I'm just gonna bring it all the way down here. I see there was a little bit of hesitation before it made the new low. This is actually, I think it's called a flat in Elliott wave. This formation right here is called a flat. It's like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kind of vibe. Here that doesn't really go anywhere within like a broader, bigger formation. So anyway, whatever. All that means is it looks like it might just go up depending on where it's at. I see that there was a strong move on Friday going above Thursday's high, or a strong move last week going above the previous week's high. I like to see these kind of candlesticks on a weekly because that's, it shows strength. We got earnings, which was really good a couple weeks back. Maybe not really good, but maybe just good enough, right? Just good enough, right? And then we got the dividend payout day coming up this week. And then just nothing necessarily bad to say on the headlines for this week. Usually, I mean, this isn't, when I click on this little lightning bolt, I'm not looking for like a hidden gem. It's just like overall sentiment, and I don't really take too much weight to it. I'm more of a technical trader, so I'll take some economic things into account, but I'm not going nuts. This thing is telling me put in a resting bar because it didn't really break down much further than the previous week, and then a nice strong reversal where we kind of gap down. If this had weakness and it was way down here, it would have continued to work its way down. But we got buyers sitting in this area, especially. Look at this wick on this candlestick. Look how big that wick is. This area is full of buyers. The last time we were in this area, they turned this candlestick into a hammer, and then they ripped it up. We formed this flat, and now we're back into this area where buyers like to be active. So that's it. I'm not looking for anything too crazy. Break above the day high on Friday, 75.55, or the week high on Friday, 75.55. We could target 3 weeks ago at 79.25. Look at the daily real quick. Yeah, I mean, and the daily looks even better to me because you got some strong downtrend, little gap up, island, fell down hard, strong downtrend here. And then we kind of found this area, bounced sideways, retested it, bounced, and worked our way up. So I think that there's a potential for us to catch some of the beginning of this move. I think that maybe we come into 79.25 and then pull back again, find a higher low, and then work our way back into the 50. So we'll see what happens. I'll be watching Baba. I'm going to go ahead and set an alert on it at 75.54, which is just 1 penny above the high of day. And then if you want to play downside, I mean, there's a lot of buyers here, but if you want to play downside, take it to yesterday's, below Friday, take it over to Thursday's low, and then maybe the lowest you could target is Wednesday's low. But I wouldn't even waste my time with that, to be honest. Next one is Disney on a weekly. Now, I know Disney, what is this, Wayfair? All right, we just discovered Wayfair. Let's see what's up. This is how I find hidden gems. All right, so Wayfair, flat base, strong rip up, inverse head and shoulders formed here. Hold us back down, formed a higher low, right? Higher low. So it looks like even with everything being done and said, it looks like buyers might still be in control here. Ripped up to the 100-day moving average, pulled back, found support on the 200-day, bullish engulfing on a 200-day, formed an island, and then we had an inside bar. So potential for a nice move out of this inside bar for Wayfair. I don't think these options are very liquid. I feel like I tried playing this once and I wasn't really in love with how it was moving, but I'm not 100% familiar. But if the chains are good on this is a nice little setup for us on the daily. And sometimes you just gotta like, I stumbled upon this because I was entering 1 week. I just put W and hit enter, and this is just a beautiful setup. So maybe that's the market gods showing us a little bit of love. Let's look at Baba one more time. 80 call. Nell said I was looking for Baba. 80 call for January, 85 for February. Yeah, I mean, the 80 call will put you right at the 50-day moving average. It does make sense that it would bounce, especially out of this. This looks like demand zone, bounce right into that 50-day moving average. So, and just like you said, lots of gaps on the way up. This thing will fill gaps like nothing. Like sometimes that's why the price action on this is kind of funny. You got to catch it on the right day because it'll gap up, it'll gap down, it'll gap up, it'll gap down, gap up. Like so it's on its way up right now. So we can probably assume that it's going to continue to gap up into some of these higher levels. I'm looking at that 79.02 as a level of confluence. I'm looking at that 50-day as a level of confluence. So I think that the 80 for January, I think that's plenty of time for it to make 80 for sure. And the 85 for February, I think same thing, like same vibe. Even if you buy February, you trade it for 2-3 weeks, well before February, you still make a nice move on it. So yeah, I think that those are great. Those are absolutely great. The next one that I have is Disney. Disney, I was looking at Disney on the weekly. I'm not so we are in a strong downtrend, right? With Disney. We are in a very strong downtrend. It's actually almost kind of forming a flat too. It's almost kind of forming a falling wedge, which I find really interesting. Right. So It's also just kind of channeling down. What I like about Disney now is, it kind of went sideways a bunch and let these moving averages all kind of go next to each other and curl up. And that's what we want. We want to see good consolidation. As you see, I've had Disney mapped out for quite some time, ever since I drew this box. It worked its way up into the box and rejected, and now it's working its way trying to go back into it. So let's look at it. If we look at it just real quick on the weekly right here, we got the 4-week upside move. Nice little flag going on here. And then last week broke the high of the previous week. So we can easily target the highs of the previous weeks before that. And then from there, we can try to target some of these other levels at $100. I would actually set the $100 mark as my level for the week. Yeah, close enough. $99.99. Let's look at the daily on this real quick. Yeah, and then this is exactly what you want to see. You see some consolidation. Let me just pull that up. See some consolidation along the 100-day. Fell, came back, retested that, consolidated again, and then ripped up on earnings. Pulled back a little bit, continued the move, came back and filled that gap, retested the 20-day moving average, formed the higher low. There's a potential inverse head and shoulders forming here too, which all that means for people who hate these names is price came low, right? Couldn't really go down lower than that. Came down, broke it down even lower, just slightly lower. Came back, couldn't go even lower, so it's not trending downward. It just retested the same support pretty much 3 times. Buyers brought it up higher, and now it's trying to potentially form a new high. Now, if you can't break out, this price trades in ranges. You come up here, sellers are in control, they bring it back down. You come down here, buyers take control, they bring it back up. So that's the range, is from here to here, right? Now I do see it bounced on that 200-day moving average, formed a higher low, and now it's flagging on the 20-day moving average. So really what I want to see is for Disney to break above the day high, break above Thursday, and then work its way into the 95.74, 96.51. Now, if it does want to break down, it would be a really nice setup to the downside too, actually, because you get that breakdown and you could target Wednesday's low, which is $90.78. So nice $2 move to the downside. If it does break the 200 for whatever reason, it's going to go straight for that 50. So some decent price action on this. Some good targets in mind, right? I probably should be keeping some of these, but it is what it is. I'll redraw them again when we get back there. So those are going to be my targets for the week. I do like the inside bar or not the inside bar, but the tight range on Disney on Friday's candlestick. And I do like the fact that it's flagging after a strong move on the weekly. So that's Disney for this week. The next one is American Airlines. AAL on the weekly. Strong move out of this strong downtrend. It was like 20 back-to-back red weeks. It's crazy. And then we had earnings, and then I think that there was just like kind of a late reaction to earnings. Consolidated off the 50-day moving average, ripped right into the 200-day. So as long as we hold that 200-day, which is sitting at 1434, I think that we can target some of these levels here, right? Those are going to be your levels. I don't think it does $16 this week, but it might. Look at the daily real quick. AAL is fun to trade, even though it's kind of a slow mover relative to like some of the other stuff we trade. But we do have a nice little cup and handle. A little bit of a handle right here underneath the 200-day moving average. Strong move on Thursday, little pullback on Friday. I had a sneeze that just went away, so that sucks. But what I like about this also is we can take out the high of day here, and then we can target this previous pivot here at $14.99. Above that, we got $15.33, right? And then below I would even just leave that line right there at $14.49. Below that line, we got the 200-day moving average right here at $14.29. Underneath that, we got some support at $13.75. So I like it better to the upside. I wouldn't trade it to the downside, but it does have good risk reward in both directions. I just think the strength is in favor of an upside move. Especially with like holiday season, I think is like good seasonality for AAL because a lot of people usually spend money during this time to travel and see their families. So yeah, I like it. Next one on my list is LRCX, which I believe is sitting at all-time high right now. DAL is not dissimilar. Let's look at DAL. Yeah, just strength, right? Came down. I mean, it's just like a sector-wide move to the downside. and then, you know, found support. We've been here before. If you look over to the left, there's a bunch of support sitting in this area. And now we're working our way back into previous levels. I have this line drawn at 42.88. As you see, a bunch of sellers are sitting above this level. So it'll be very interesting to see what DAL does above this level here. You know, every time that it's kind of been here, you know, except for this, except for like these couple of weeks, every time in the past that it's been here, it's always sold off. So let's see what it does. I think it's great. I'm actually going to go ahead and throw that. Thank you for the suggestion, Terry. I'm actually going to throw that on the on my list of alerts for the week. DAL, same exact setup, and DAL trades at a higher price than AAL, which means DAL, a 3% move for DAL is a bigger money move than a 3% move for AAL, which means more money for you, right? So next one is LRCX, which I believe is at all-time high. Is that right? That's crazy. LRCX took my lunch back here. I had this downside play mapped to retest all this previous resistance at support, but it didn't even, it was like, you know what? Nah, we're not waiting for you. And it ripped, bounced off that 200-day moving average on the weekly, and then ripped on all of last week. Went absolutely nuts. So I want to see a continuation. I see some selling pressure here, so I would just be curious to see what happens with. I haven't spoken about Lulu yet. I will. I want to see what happens on the range of this candlestick. You see all the volume is sitting at the top of the candlestick. All the volume is way up here, so that means that there's probably still sellers active up there. So you just want to see kind of where it lands. Don't let it fall below 50% of this strong candlestick right here. If it holds 50%, then if it holds that blue line, then even on the pullback, then, you know, at 755, then I think there's a potential for a continuation to the upside. If it does break below that 755, you could retarget the low of the day. But, you know, look at everything else. Look at AMD, look at LR, look at NVIDIA, look at ASML, look at SOXL, you know, look at SMH, look at TSM, all these chip names. And if they're all going up, there's no reason why this is not going to go up. So just look for some strength in some of those names and you'll see it follow through here, right? If you want to take LRCX. And LRCX, I mean, at this point, you could play pretty far out the money. You know, this thing will move $20 in a day, no problem. So play as far as you can afford. And you'll be rewarded if you catch it on the right day. So keep that in mind. Let's look at Lulu now because I don't have it on my list. Lululemon. Ever since we got that addition to the S&P, this thing has been going absolutely nuts. I think I had a previous level marked at 485.83, which was a previous all-time high back in November of 2021. And we ripped through that all-time high a couple of days ago, or last week, actually, on a Friday. Went sideways a bunch, pulled back, and found support at that same level. So interesting spot for this. This looks like it might be a potential downside 3-bar play, but, you know, I know there's buyers sitting in this candlestick, so I wouldn't really treat it as a 3-bar play to the downside. I would want to see it break above that level. I would want to see it retrace more than 50% of this candlestick here. So 496.41. And then above that, I would expect to see it retest the high. I don't think it'll do it in one day. I think that we'll get like maybe one candlestick here, maybe another one next to it, and then, you know, 2 or 3 days, 4 or 5 days, 6, 7 days back to 500 and then 505 for Lulu. Now, if you do want to take a short trade on this, if it does break down below this level, if it comes back and retests and then you get a weakness in the market, then I would take it below low of day and target the 50% of this candlestick, which will be 471. That'll give you a nice $14 move to the downside. And Lulu will do it. Look at these big candlesticks that it puts out sometimes, right? So if you do get a good weakness in the market, then you can potentially target that. Underneath that, you'll be lucky to get to the 20-day moving average. I don't think it goes. I think the strength is stronger than the weakness. I think the buyers are stronger than sellers for Lulu right now. The reason why I say that is because we've just been trending upward ever since. You know, we just higher lows and lower highs and higher highs. Everything is higher. All right, even here, so far, we're still trending higher. I'm gonna go ahead and just put this like that. You can ignore that last rate, but the highs have been getting higher, the lows have been getting higher. Everything's getting higher. So I would expect for this to just form a higher low, a low that's anywhere higher than this area over here, and then round it up. You could trade the pullback into the higher low, but you don't know when it's going to come. I'd rather trade into the strength. This has like full time frame continuity to the upside, except for obviously the daily. So like weekly, monthly, quarterly, all that stuff is all upside. Daily is not so much. Daily, we got to get, make a new high and come up here. Excuse me. We're gonna miss weekly time frame continuity, and we're gonna miss. Let me look at the weekly numbers. Yeah, I mean we do have it on a weekly, but next week we won't. As soon as Monday opens, unless it opens up here, we won't have it. But either way, the point is, if all the large time frames say go up, and you want to go, you want to go up, or you want to trade it, go with the time frame. Go along. It's saying up, go up. If it's saying up and you see a nice downside setup, yeah, you can trade against full time frame continuity. Just know that if you do trade downside, you might get bit. You might get a little bug bite in the booty. I wouldn't trade it downside for too long, is what I'm saying. I would trade downside for for minutes or for maybe a day, but not much longer than that. But this looks great. I mean, look at it on the weekly, and then from ever since S&P edition, which was like 4 weeks ago, around this area over here, it was fitting because it's like, oh yeah, we got Lulu full time frame continuity to the upside, inside bar on the weekly, S&P edition, rip above some of these previous levels, rip to retest the previous pivot of all time high. Now we make a new all time high. It's just beautiful. It's just great price action. Lulu. Next one is AKAM, which again lives within the names of kind of tech services, but also semiconductors, right? So tech services such as those other names that I mentioned earlier, Zscaler and DDog, are looking really strong, and so are some of these semi names, obviously looking very, very strong. I see a bunch of sellers sitting in this area over here. I'm going to go ahead and draw a box. I just want us to be aware. Every time price gets to this level, it kind of, a bunch of sellers step in. Over here, even though they had a little bit of weakness on these, maybe they were selling something else, but lots of weakness in this level. Every time it reaches here, right? We tried again and it pulled back hard and threw us into a downtrend. So let's see what happens. It got its strength consolidated inside, cup and handles and inverse head and shoulders. I see all kinds of stuff here now. And strong move out of an indecision week, right? Let's look at the daily. Strong move up, little indecision week, just went sideways, and then continuation move. That's a healthy pullback right there. Continuation move inside bar on Friday. So go ahead, and I love these inside bars. They just make trading so easy, in my opinion, because you could just you have your clear targets. You say, all right. And then I love these volume nodes too, because they make things clear too. But think about it. Can't quite get it there. Let's say take your starting point at that 118.49, and then you can work your way either up or down depending on which way the price is going. Range is getting really tight right now on this daily chart. I wouldn't be surprised if the price went sideways one more day, just to kind of really, draw this pennant out. By tomorrow, if we go to where all the volume is concentrated here, work our way up, work our way down, clear targets, very, very nice price action. AKAM, I don't know if it is pretty liquid, meaning you can trade weeklies on it. You're not gonna get a lot of open interest and volume on it, so just be aware of that. If you do jump into it and it's not moving, just be patient. Like if you see price moving like crazy, but then the contracts aren't moving, just be patient. Or set like an unrealistic fill and watch how it gets filled. It's one of those that you kind of just got to be patient with it. Set it to the side. Keep a small chart in the corner of your screen with it, and that's it. Maybe set alerts, right? So I like it in both directions this week, but I prefer it to the upside, especially because we had that strong upside move, nice little shallow, quiet pullback on a sell cycle, continuation move to the upside. Inside bar, I would wager that it's going to go up into 120, 121, 122. Potentially this week. We'll see. Next one is Pinterest. Pinterest on a weekly is showing lots of strength. What I love about Pinterest is we had this really strong consolidation. Price was down in this area for months and months and months. Strong consolidation in this area, strong move up out of earnings, and then it's just slowly been working its way up. You know, I know a lot of people are on this name. I don't see the wrong people on this name yet, so I think we're in a good spot. I think the first target for this would be 39.04 based on this trend-based fib move. 39.04, and then above 39.04 we got 40, and then above 40 we got 42. So I like it to the upside. I wouldn't short this above high 39.04, which you see there. Right there, that's fine. I want to set this one to 42. 41.98, good enough. Let's look at the daily. So I'm gonna hide this. So in terms of price action, price goes sideways a bunch. Good earnings report, gaps up, and now it starts trending upwards. So we can continue the move to the upside as long as we hold the support level. Thursday and Friday's majority of its volume was traded around like just a penny away from each other, right? At $37 pretty much. So if we pull back, we hold that $37 mark where we've held 2 days in a row. Then we can continue our way up. Otherwise, if we break down that $37 mark, maybe you want to get risky and target some of these lows of day, potentially. You want to play short, that's cool. I do like it to the upside. I wouldn't go short, but there is a nice potential for a pivot machine gun back to the 20-day moving average for Pinterest. So I do like it a lot to the upside, though. I have a few more. Next one is AMD. AMD finally broke out of my channel, ripped up to the upside all through all moving averages on an earnings positive result. I think it was a big beat too. Let's see. Yeah, it was a strong beat. Everybody loves Lisa Su, so she did her thing with that, with the presentation of it. Ripped up to the upside. And I don't think it's her. I think it's just AMD is so good that everyone just loves it, right? Ripped up to the upside. Kind of, you can see where it slowed down, right? Look how it's kind of decelerating into this line at 122. Formed a resting bar, and then buyers continue to rip it right back up. Form the new high. I believe this is, no, it's not. But we are not far off. Oh, and then do I have this? No, not even. Wow. Okay. So we do have a weekly cup and handle on AMD. That's coming to fruition now. We're breaking out of the handle. We got some of these previous levels to kind of hold and retest. That one. Okay. 150 AMD 150 sounds kind of insane right now, but it's only about $10 away, so keep that in mind. I'm gonna go ahead and set my 50% mark on that weekly candlestick. Let's look at the daily. Yeah, so nice rip to the upside. Lots of indecision are on this level here, but as long as we hold that 135, I think we can continue to the upside. Now, if we do break down that 135, let's take low of day for the risky entry. Break down below 135, target 131.90. Under that, target 128. But if we do take the high of day, we got Thursday's high, and then we got 145, which is right here. And then we got 149, but I would just call that 150 to be honest with you. 140, 145, 150 to the upside. That's what I'm looking at for AMD. I do like the risk reward much better to the upside. Let's see. At the break of day high, set your stop to the break of the low. Set your target to 140, 150. Yeah, it gives you a 2-to-1 for now. On the entry, you got a 2-to-1. Here's my 150. You got a 2-to-1 on the entry, 2.5-to-1. And then once you're good and you see that it's going positive and it's ripping above, like ripping, then you kind of bring your stop up, and now you got your ideal risk reward. So that's AMD. The next one is Netflix. This is where, coincidentally, Netflix also has a cup and handle on the weekly, which I think we've discussed a bunch, but I'm not going to stop talking about it. Got the cup, I got the handle, and then strong move here. And then, coincidentally, there's also a cup and handle on daily. Got the cup, we got the handle right here. Let me get rid of this. Got the handle right here, and then you have kind of a wedge that's formed. It's a wedge on some of the smaller time frames, but You do have support on the 20-day moving average. We did form an inside bar. I would targeting the high of this candlestick. We got to rip above that, pretty much the high of day, to target anything above the top of this candlestick. There's a bunch of sellers sitting in this level. As you can see, price went sideways on this level a bunch. And every time it's kind of gotten back up here, it's sold off, right? I think I can even extend this back to, let me just look at the weekly on this real quick. Yeah, I mean, these are the sellers that were here since back there, right? So, but that's what we're working with. Right now, I think sellers are still active there. I don't know if they're in control, but they're definitely active there. If they were in control, then this would be bringing us down. It could still bring us down. So we'll see. I'm going to go ahead and set an alert for the break of the 50% line of Thursday's candlestick. I'm also going to go ahead and set an alert to the break of my line there at 467.28. And then we'll kind of take it from there. I think that this continues to the upside. I think that 20 days is going to be a crucial support for Netflix for this week. The last one that I have is Caterpillar. Back to Wayfair. Caterpillar, let's see. The reason why I like the reason why I like Cat is because there's kind of an inside head or inverse head and shoulders here, right? We have this area of low. We have a new low that we kind of tested, and then we came back. Oh, this is still Wayfair. Oh, am I doing? Yeah, okay. Sorry about that. All right, so we got, yeah, that didn't make sense. All right, so the reason how I know I'm looking at Cat is because I must have cleared everything out. Anyway, we had the 200-day moving average kind of sitting in this area. Price came down, consolidated underneath it, gapped above it, retested it as support, and then is now ripping, right? I don't know what economically the reason for this to move like this. It says industrial stocks are hitting new highs, but I feel like this is closely tied to the home builders sector. And like, there's not, I don't think there's, I don't know, maybe I'm out of touch. I know that there's like deals across that market right now, and I just don't know how that'll positively affect Cat. Like, I feel like people aren't building like that, but maybe I'm out of touch. If anybody knows any different, go ahead and share with me. Benefiting from improving its demand or improving demand in its end markets and cost control, inflationary pressure. So increased demand, and then they have a backlog. Okay. Okay. So they just found ways to reinvent themselves in a high inflationary environment. That's really good. Strong beat, and it looks like they're just meeting their demand. So that's good. That's good. Anyway, I'm not trying to be skeptical here. I like it for the upside as well. I think that it's very, very strong. It broke through this downtrend right here. Right? Broke through that downtrend on the weekly. And so now I just want to see it retest some of these highs. I want to see it take this high out at 299, 238, 293.88, which is all-time high. It's so close to all-time high, right? Like it pulled back hard out of that all-time high. I want to see what it does when it retests it, right? I know there's a bunch of sellers sitting here because every time it gets up to this level, you see price kind of rejects it. Go to daily. Price, every time it gets to this level, price rejects. It did it here, did it here, did it here, did it here. So clear supply zone. But, after a nice strong move down, good consolidation, strong rip, way after earnings, I think that there's a potential for this to just continue to move to the upside. Right? This might be the third tap, the third time is charm, right? Third time it breaks out. 300 is the first target, 310 is the next target. If you want to play short, go ahead and just take the low of day to yesterday's low of day. Keep it simple. We'll talk about it again probably this week, but I love it for this week. I love Cat. I love. Let's look at Costco real quick. Yeah, Costco's another one. I want to add that to my list actually. Cost. Another one. Costco's the infamous. Where is it at? Doing exactly what I thought it would, right? Exactly what we planned for it to do, right? We got this strong wedge, broke out of the wedge, made some kind of price discovery. Yeah, I'll take a look at HD. made some price discovery, ripped up, and now just continuing the move. Look at how it's just going parabolic at this point. Costco is a great, it's a great company, great to hold in your portfolio if you like dividends. They pay out good dividends. They are a little bit costly, but it is what it is, right? If you get a nice collection of Costco shares, you'll probably be rewarded very nicely. This is headed towards 683.32, and then we got all of our targets here. Nothing has changed. I would just see what it does. Pretty much, where is my? Based on how strong Friday was, you know what that means? That means there's a couple other names across this sector that were probably equally as strong. I'm going to look at Home Depot next. Home Depot is kind of one of those retail. Home Depot is like a hybrid retail and home builder industrial kind of sector. So that's interesting. As long as Costco holds this level here, I think a continuation is in order for it. It can get into 675, 683, 700, 720 pretty quickly. Things escalated very quickly. Okay, Home Depot. Nice outside bar. First of all, massive rip out of this low. Bunch of supply, a bunch of demand sitting down here. Massive rip out of that low. And then we got a nice outside bar. Nice strong outside bar with most concentration of volume sitting at the top of this candlestick is very, very nice. The one thing that I do not love is this potential broadening, which again, these don't always play out. But whenever you see inside bar, range contracting and then range expanding, you got to draw that broadening. Let's look at the smaller time frame, the hour, 65 minute. Right now it looks like, we obviously got the gap up, and then we got strong move, kind of slowed down towards the middle of the day, ripped back down at the end of the day, and then redid it, broke out, made a higher high, and then kind of held that high, and then made a new high towards the end of the day. So very, very bullish here at the end of the day. Now that broadening, this right here looks really crazy. Very, very large range, but when you look at it on the smaller time frame, it makes a lot more sense. This can easily, it can do what it wants, right? Obviously, price does what it wants. I think that if it continues to hold that green line right there, you see this green volume level here at 353, what is it? 353.25, let's call it. Let's just do this, right? We'll go ahead and put a line here, and we'll put a line on yesterday's. Those are going to be your levels, the first level of support, the final level of support. If it breaks through that final level of support, then Home Depot's probably going to come back and hit the bottom of that, maybe give you a nice little bounce, and then come hit down here where it would fill that gap completely, right? It will fill this gap right here. This gap right here will be filled completely before maybe continuing to, maybe trying to work its way up, right? You know how price does. Price does one of these. So that's one scenario. The other scenario is it holds, and then it rips straight into the top of the broadening. Maybe it pulls back for a retest, and then it continues up, and then maybe it pulls back for one more retest, and then it just continues up, right? Making higher highs each time, right? That's another scenario. Another scenario is it hits the top of that broadening, hits the top of that broadening, a bunch of people buy, probably me. I'll call out calls up here, and then it rips straight down, right? Very likely scenario. So we don't know. And then another scenario is it just ignores the broadening and just goes straight up. Yeah, like that. So I like it for this hourly. I like it above 351.53. Anything above 351.53, I would go ahead and buy some calls. And then you can probably go like 10 or 15 points out the money for Home Depot. Home Depot is relatively expensive, so that's why I don't really trade it too often. But Home Depot is just like SPX, right? With more time. You can buy weeklies and you don't got to worry about getting killed. I would watch out for this broadening, but besides that, I think that is showing strength to continue to the upside, especially with that outside bar on Friday. Let me go ahead and change the color of these lines real quick. And then I just want to sneak a peek at a couple other charts, like just 3 other charts real quick, related to kind of this sector. CVS on a daily, let's look at the weekly. CVS potential three bar play on a weekly. Strong move up, nice little flag. Let's see if it continues. It's also broadening up here, finding its footing, right? Price is working its range to the upside, working its range to the downside. So go ahead and actually do this. There you go. Right, so let's see what happens, but it's still within the context of all this happening at the top of this move. So strength, and then also all this consolidation occurring above this previous level of consolidation where price fell. So very, very interesting where it's at right now. Let's look at UPS. UPS potential inverse head and shoulders, cup and handle, however you see it. Above the 100-day, price is trending upward, broke above the previous day high. This looks like it's headed straight towards that 200-day moving average up here at 169.54. So let's see what UPS does. I'm going to go ahead and send an alert for it. And what was the other one I want to look at? Obviously, DKS is one that I'm always watching. DKS has got the flag, got the breakout. So CVS, so look at this, pay attention to this flag right here. You see how it's kind of going sideways after this strong move? Same thing with CVS. We got that flag, we got that sideways. So hopefully we get that strong move. And they're within the same, pretty much the same sector, right? They sell different things, but at the end of the day, they just sell stuff. And we have a nice cup and handle here. Handle, continuation, break. DKS. You guys know I'm always watching this, so it's definitely going to be on watch this week. I'm going to go ahead and set my alerts at the high of day. And then the last one I want to look at real quick is WBA. And actually, I want to look at Tesla and I want to look at Apple. WBA. Walgreens is, again, same sector CVS, same sector as DKS. Some of those retail names. Break above that level at 25.77. We could target that 26.71. And then we could target that 200-day moving average. Break below. Lots of support. You see two candlesticks. We got the little gap. And then we got this resistance here. And obviously we got the 100-day, but I wouldn't go down that far. So good risk reward in both directions. Almost an inside bar, not quite, but you know the range of the price is still well within the range of this candlestick here. So even though it broke down, it went right back up immediately. So very interesting. This is a 65-minute chart, by the way. I like looking at the 65 because it's 5 candlesticks for the day. Or rather 6 candlesticks for the day. Nice and simple. Shit, I just lost my train of thought. The WBA. Oh, Tesla. Weekly. Oh, okay. So Jake has been talking about Tesla for a couple of weeks. I think Tesla's ready. I think he also said it like 2 weeks ago. He said it's ready to go. And look at what it did last week. It tested the low, but then it ripped and made a new high, breaking out of this square box, right? Do the daily. And they extend this box. It kind of went above, came down, went back below, and now it's trading towards the top of it. You know, it ripped above this candlestick. Some sellers came in, and again, it's retesting the top of this candlestick. It needs to clear this candlestick. It needs to clear 255 in order for 270 to be in play. So above 255, we get 270. Very, very simple, especially with all this consolidation. Now, there was some recalls, some news about Tesla's getting recalled. So I would be interested in reading about it. I haven't read about it. I don't know what is the full extent of it, but I would just keep it in mind. It looks like there's a bunch of other things going on in the news. Canada to announce all zero cars must be zero emission, or all new cars must be zero emission by 2035. So that's very good for Tesla. I mean, again, above 255, we get 270 pretty quickly, especially with all that consolidation. I'm gonna go ahead and send my alert right there. I don't expect it to go down, right? Software update. Oh, that's what it is. It's getting a software update, so they want you to bring it back. And that's more like a firmware update at that point. Firmware update. I butchered that phrase. At that point, because I know that it does like regular standard software updates on its own, but this is, if you got to bring it back to the factory, it's very substantial. Looking at the weekly on Apple, we made a new high this past week. I was absolutely slammed with work and travel, so I wasn't really able to spend time with the markets. But trust me, I got those alerts telling me that Apple's making new all-time highs. So with that strength in mind, I mean, we do have the inside bar, so this can go in either direction. I would not go too deep down into the pullback. I would expect for it to pull back into that 193 just to kind of make sure that the support here is good before continuing to the upside. Now, if we do break above the high of day, we're going straight to 200, I think, in my opinion. And we might reject that 200 pretty hard. But Apple's set up nicely for a continuation move, especially with this consolidation, the slight pullback consolidation here, continuation move. As long as Apple has strength and the market has strength, and this market looks pretty damn strong to me. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for being on this call with me. I know we discussed a lot. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and drop it in the chat. I'll get to them before the morning. And I'll go ahead and put this recording up because I know I started pretty quickly in the morning, in the beginning there. So it'll be up soon. All right. Thank you guys for being on this call, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace.